Yo, Jennygang, what it do? So we are back again with a Jennygang YouTube production. Like the video, L-I-K-E, like the video. Please share the video, comment on my commentary. Today's horror story is a revisit back into the Felicia Johnson case. Just to give you a reminder, Felicia Johnson is the girl from California who went to Texas to dance. She went to a very well-known nightclub, which at this point has been vindicated. Let me just tell y'all basically what happened to her. I did cover the story from Cali to Texas to try out for a popular club in Houston called Cover Girls. So there was a lot of coverage in regards to Cover Girls and how they got some little messed up ways and how they do their hiring. They're very wishy-washy. Sometimes they want certain colored girls. Sometimes they want colored girls that are lighter than others. And Felicia, she's kind of like a dark brown complexion. But this club, it still put a lot of attention on them and their grimy ways and some of the illegal activity that they have going on. However, they are, being vindicated now because Felicia left that club after applying and not getting hired. She was seen on their camera last, but she hopped in an Uber. So let's get into what happened to her and who called the Uber. So the Uber took her to an apartment complex on the 3200 block of Wind Chase Boulevard. This is Houston, Texas, for anyone who's there, which is the address of an apartment which a man from Nigeria, he recently moved from. Now, we're going to call him the man from Nigeria because Nigerians have these crazy names. I can't think of the case, but I did a case a little while back about a Nigerian man who kind of did the same thing almost. It was a Caucasian girl that he lured to him. She went to the park to meet him in the middle of the night, took her back to his Airbnb. Y'all already know the rest. If you don't, catch up on that video, but I will try to put at least the wording of the girl's name on that video. But this guy got a crazy name. So the Uber that she was seen getting into outside of Cover Girls took her to this Nigerian guy's old apartment. Now, why this idiot would take her anywhere to where his name was attached to, don't ask me. So he picks her up from where the Uber drops her off from and takes Felicia to his new apartment. So you probably say, Jenny, how can she get from the club to the interview and not getting hired to getting in the Uber to meeting the Nigerian guy? Well, Miss Felicia had posted an ad on an escort website. Very sad to say. She put an ad on an escort website. This guy is the one who responded, a straight demon. Ratchet TV covered this case heavily, and Felicia's dad seemed to have been a person who was involved in Felicia's quote-unquote raunchy activity, I guess you could say. He seemed to be a person that knew more than what he's saying. Also, there were suspicions that maybe he was a PIMP and knew that his daughter went to meet somebody and just hadn't came back. But he pushed all his blame onto the club. So whenever things aren't going right with an investigation in Texas, or if it needs a little push or it needs a little more dissecting, people will solicit Cornell X's help. He is some sort of advocate down there for crime. Sometimes it feels as though when Black women go missing, especially when it's something of this nature, the police and stuff don't really move like how they did with the Gabby situation or whatever. They take their precious time. But Cornell X got on the case, started helping the dad, who we were all suspicious of, and still don't really know his involvement in, what Felicia was doing. But at any rate, he was the face of the case, trying to figure out what happened to her, saying this, saying that, blaming the club. Like I said, Ratchet TV covered the case very heavily, but it got very ugly between him and the dad. He even interviewed the dad, and then the dad got upset, you know, because some questions were asked, some things were said. So he actually started threatening another blogger covering the case after Ratchet TV interviewed the dad. This is Felicia's dad. So anywho, she hops in the car, in the Uber, goes to the Nigerian's old apartment. He picks her up from the old apartment, takes her to the new apartment. This is where he done what we assume that he done. So there was plenty of Felicia's DNA found in this apartment. This is May that this happened, and she disappeared April 16th. So on my first video, I labeled some of the evidence that they found, and I'm only smiling because they did find a phone that was Felicia's, and I said the same thing that the news said, that it was covered in blood, and one of you decided to correct me in the comments to say it wasn't covered in blood, it was a speck of blood. FYI, the news is still saying the phone is covered in blood. I don't know why that little tiny detail would be enough to feel like you need to correct me. But at any rate, that phone was disposed of at a place called Bear Creek, which was close to the Nigerian guy's new apartment. So this dude is sick. They went through his phone, found evidence. The evidence said things like, what are some of the more forested places in Texas? What is the cheapest place to live in the United States? He also had some dismembered bodies in his phone and 3 deceased girls who are unidentified in his phone, okay? Now, like I said, they found a lot of DNA in all of those Google searches, so they know that Felicia's fate was probably met in that apartment. He immediately starts to cover up, went to Walmart, was caught on camera buying the supplies to, you know, pretty much a disposal kit. And the fool went to the doctor the next morning to tell them he hurt his hand doing something and he needed medical attention for it. This guy, as far as I know, has not been caught. The phone that I'm referring to was taken from him on a traffic stop. This is after all this happened, y'all. Do not ask me why they didn't take him to jail, okay? Well, they didn't know that he had all this going on, but at any rate, they confiscated his phone on this traffic stop. He was stopped or whatever, released. Now he's gone in the wind. We don't know if he's back in Africa or what have you, but that's how they were able to go through his phone and find all this sick stuff. And like I said, they just went ahead and just started retracing his steps. He also asked a question on his Google search: can the authorities trace the phone records of a deceased person? You know, it's like he was such a demon. He ain't even try to make no plan to do this. He was just so bloodthirsty to do this to this girl. He didn't even have he had no follow-up. He just did what he did and then started panicking. And, you know, we think that he probably put her in pieces and made her easy to dispose of and then jetted up out of the country. That's probably what he did. I hope he didn't. I always say RIP to the victims, because no matter what she was doing, she didn't deserve to lose her life. Also to the dancers, you know, if you move like that, whatever you do, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, these Nigerians, they're not playing fair. They will pay whatever price you say. You can say, oh, I want $10,000 for the night. Obviously, they know they're not going to complete the transaction. So they be like, okay, cool, whatever. That's what it's starting to look like to me. Even with the tiger booty case, the Caucasian dancer with the tiger on her butt, cover that story. That wasn't that a Nigerian guy that booked her to come over there, and all of a sudden she's deceased and her family can't even get answers to find out, to be able to get her back home. And no one said anything else about the case because the Nigerian who booked her supposedly was very, very, very wealthy. So everybody on hush mouth. Nobody knows anything about what happened to it, whether she OD'd. But from my understanding, she didn't drink or do anything. I don't really know about that because your family don't really know everything that you do. So to say that she didn't even drink, I think that's a little bit pushing it, but that's besides the point. I feel like these Nigerian guys are, they're finding easy targets, and they're not wanting the escapades they claim to want. They wanting to hurt you and do all type of sick things and then send you to the afterlife. So if at all possible, it's demons in every race, but I think especially avoid these guys because am happy to see that there finally was some sort of closure, because I was watching it for a little while like, dang, is this gonna turn into another thing where we never know what happened? Now her body has not been found, so no one still knows where she is, but there is enough evidence to say that she is no longer with us. And so her family does kind of know it's just a situation where they just basically trying to recover what they can or whatever. But let me know what you guys think of this situation. Also, if you have any other stories, not to pick on the Nigerians or whatever, because I know y'all upper echelon and everything, but is this a pattern for those type of men? Or is it just these three Nigerians that I just so happen to be seeing booking dancers and then offering them? You know what I'm saying? Jennygang being judgmental. Like the video, share the video, comment on my commentary. See you guys on the next one.